Hey, it's Mazzy here on the vinyl community, and we're going to do an interview now, and just like a sharing of records. And I'm having my ape men friends. Is that a good way of saying it? Are you the ape men? Ape.
Sure.
You can call us Ape. We could.
Ape.
We're the Simians, but the band name is Ape.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, those of you who have watched this several weeks ago in one of my new releases, I showed this record. And I think a handful of you went out and bought it. So I'm going to put a link below. So go buy this friggin' thing. There are only about 500 copies altogether, about 100 of each color. This happens to be orange vinyl. I don't know if you can choose colors anymore, but you go to the website. I think they'll talk about it. Beautiful illustration. They'll talk about the illustrators because I'm going to ask them about that because as an agent, I love crediting the artists, and Eric here, which I'll introduce you in a minute, designed this, or at least art directed it, as I understand. Eric Rindal, Midge Tobias, Lance Murchison, Kevin Woodhouse, who plays exclusively DW drums. So either he's putting that in to try to get a friggin' signature DW set, or he has.
Yeah.
He's got it.
So there's an Ape signature set. So go out and buy it, you DW drummers. That's I don't think there's.
I don't know if it's a signature set.
Okay. Is there a Mitch Tobias Fender Jaguar?
No.
Okay. Pete Pettit or Petite?
Pettit.
Pettit. All right. And Crazy Al Evans, the tiki carver, and I have an autographed little thing from Crazy Ed there. And they'll talk about that too as we go along. And we're also going to share some sort of music that relates as a little introduction. They're from the San Francisco Bay Area. They're one of the few, if only, newer bands that really emulate the whole tiki lounge craze of Martin Denny, Exotica, Les Baxter, surfy. They got I know Mitch has a real kind of that surfy, twangy Fender 60s Venture sound a little bit, and a lot of reverb probably there. And it's just it's a fun record. I enjoy this record. So we're going to go from there. And why don't you guys give me a little background of where you came from and how this all started?
Thank you, Norman. Eric, why don't you start?
Eric Rindal.
Mazzy, thank you. Thanks for having us on. So I was born and raised in San Diego. A lot of time on the beach and a lot of various musical influences. But in early high school, there was a band called the Evasions that were a couple years older. And they put out a surf record picture disc, and they had Rick Griffin did the art on it. And I got that, and then I was hooked. So that took me deep into it. So started playing guitar, got into playing surf music, the Ventures. I always loved the Beatles. They're number one in my book too.
Yeah, well.
So, but then just started creating bands. In college, I went to UC Santa Barbara, had a band in college called the Swingin' Tikis, which was a lot of fun.
Did you know of a band? It's funny. My roommate in college, who went to UCSB, he grew up there, and he came to San Francisco, went to San Francisco State together. But I went down to visit him I would go down to his parents' house over the breaks and things. And there was a band we saw down there called The Tan. Do you remember?
I don't remember seeing them, but for some reason that name, I heard of them.
This would have been late 70s, early 80s type of thing. They were kind of surfy, new wavy, punk, post-punk.
Yep. There were like a couple, Toad the Wet Sprocket was there when we were there. We had like adjoining rehearsal spaces, and there's a lot of good music. It was a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of great musicians there, and you'd hear all sorts of stuff coming out of those.
And everybody
parties.
worked in sandals and just played surf music.
Exactly.
I La Vista, baby.
Eric still does. Yeah. He's probably wearing sandals right now.
He's probably not wearing pants. None of us are wearing pants. Yeah, no, that's what we do now.
Yeah, exactly. You can't tell.
But are you both in San Francisco now? Or
I'm in Oakland.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been up here forever, it seems like, which is great.
I'll throw that out. I met these two, or at least I knew of Eric, because Eric was an art director at a big San Francisco agency. Since I represent photographers, I knew his name around, and he is one of those guys with a target on my list going after. Mitch, I met, God, 10, 15 years ago. I don't even know, give or take. Great photographer in the Bay Area. And we met through that. So through that whole thing. But I remember us talking, Mitch and I talking about music, and I knew you got play guitar, but I've never seen these guys. For some reason, I moved here 6 years ago from San Francisco to Seattle. I never went to see you guys. What the fuck? What's that about?
Yeah, what
I don't know, and you can't right now. We have to wait.
So do you guys do most, is there like a, excuse me, I mean, I don't mean to interrupt you, but is there a tiki circuit that you guys play?
Yes.
When people can play?
Yes, there's definitely that, and there's actually a really good scene in San Francisco now with a lot of the tiki bars that exist.
One in Hayes Valley, right? Right.
Yeah, Smuggler's Cove.
Right.
And then there's Forbidden Island in Alameda, and there's Zombie Village in the city. And what am I missing, Eric? We played the Tonga Room once.
Oh, yeah.
But that was a private thing. It was for a birthday party.
I saw a record release there for a Chris Isaak record, and the band, Chris Isaak and his band, came out on the raft in the old swimming pool there.
They wouldn't let us. They wouldn't let us go on the raft.
Well, Warner Brothers probably had a little more clout than you guys.
Yeah,
I guess so.
We were playing for Lee Unkrich. He's like the director for Toy Story and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was birthday.
He loves us.
It was great, but we actually, because it's like the dance floor is like in the middle of a ship, and then there's like the two ends of the ship. So we were at one end of the ship, and then everyone was on the dance floor. Then you had that floating tiki bar in the pool. But that was a ton of fun.
For those of you who don't know, the Tonga Room is in the famous Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco. And it was built, I don't know if it was built in the 60s, but that area used to be the old swimming pool for the hotel. But of course, in San Francisco, no one goes swimming. They just go out and, go to strip clubs in North Beach and, rock and roll stuff, whatever. And
Exotica bands too.
Yeah, well, exactly, right, Exotica band. So how long have you been together as a band, as APE?
Since
Is it
20 years.
20 years.
Over 20. Over 20, because we started in 1999.
Yeah, Eric and I met at Art Center. We studied at Art Center together. We were in the same year, and I was at
Crazy Al.
Crazy Al was there as well, and we, he was doing art direction. I was photography, and one day Eric said, I want to play you some Hawaiian stuff. I know you're a guitarist, and I'm in my head. I'm kind of at the time on this, I'm really into fusion and all this technical proficiency and all that stuff.
Like Weather Report, that kind of
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jocko.
Chick Corea, Jocko, and Hawaiian guitar. Come on. So he goes, you got to hear this guy. This guy Saul Hoopy from, I think that's how to pronounce his name. This great Hawaiian guitar player from the 20s, I think.
Yeah, he played the Old National.
Yeah. And he put this thing on for me, and I was so blown away. And it just kind of opened up a whole dimension. And it wasn't until many years later when I finally moved here from LA, 8 years after we were at Art Center, that we got together and started this thing.
And was it called APE then?
Oh yeah,
we called it APE.
Where did that? I mean, it might be an obvious answer, but where did that come from?
He's got a good answer.
We love the Who, 3 letters, and then like at Bimbo's or something, you get the tall, like the 8-inch letters on the marquee.
It's so fucking typeface. An art director it's all about typeface.
Yeah, so let's keep it short, and then it's like, has a little bit of a jungle vibe, and then we are kind of aping some styles, and it just worked. It's just APE. It's not the APE or
Oh,
anything other than that.
he's
But
a-
if you're in Hawaii, my uncle, who's a musician and loved Hawaii, he goes, well, in Hawaii, that would be APE.
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 So it's like, okay, ape, who, them.
Cream.
I always wanted to do a video and just groups that are like adjectives or pronoun, or do a whole like but ape wouldn't fit in there because it's a noun, or it's a
Yeah.
right? So- okay, so since you talk about Hawaiian music, I was going to throw in there my favorite all time. Not that he's Hawaiian, but he does everything. My favorite guitarist of all time, if you watch any of my videos, still to this day, is Ry Cooder. And Ry Cooder did a great album he produced of Gabby Pananui,
Yep.
which is
Mambo Sinuendo.
Yeah, well, that album on Nonsuch is amazing. But anything with Ry Cooder, like, and I've learned about all these genres from. I remember in Paradise and Lunch, there's some. I mean, it's a couple albums. There's Slack Key, but there's like even.
Didn't Ry Cooder play on that what's called the Brown album by Gabby Papanui?
He produced it. He produced it.
And he played some steel on it, I believe.
Yeah, he plays on that. He produced it. I mean, obviously,
awesome.
a lot of people don't know what he did later on. The Buena Vista, that became like the big thing. But
Flagship.
the Hawaiian stuff on Paradise and Lunch and Chicken Skin Music, there's that great kind of stuff too. So anyway, so you've been playing. Now, obviously, you two have gigs and you have your regular job. So has this been like a side project, and when you can fit it in, or how serious has it been?
I call it like heavy duty farm league. We're not, because we're able to, kind of squeeze in with some like pro level gigs where we're, opening for Blondie or doing something with like, we play with Link Ray and folks like that.
Wow.
And then we'll do some corporate gigs and we'll play parties, and we're kind of all over the map, which is actually nice.
The corporate world's great. I mean, I have a good friend named Coleman Burke who has a band, Pride and Joy, and their whole thing is
awesome.
Yeah, they're the whole, but obviously now, like everyone else, that's his full-time gig for over 35 years now, with R&B and Motown and soul music. So
But honestly, I mean, even aside from a lot of these great gigs we've had, we all take it very seriously, and it's incredibly gratifying. I mean, we're all really good friends, and we really enjoy creating together. I love that. That's such a great cover.
A great one.
I'm just showing this. Keep talking. I don't want to interrupt you, but visuals.
No, it's just so creatively gratifying, and so we take it very seriously that way as well. Great covers. They don't make them like they used to.
There was a period of time, which you probably, right before you got together. I remember the early 90s, mid 90s, the labels, Capitol Records especially, there was that big bachelor pad revival of CDs, and they put out these, Capitol did the reissues like, Organs or In Orbit, and obviously the Martin Denny stuff, Les Baxter. I love the Jackie Gleason records too and stuff.
Oh yeah, those are killer. The one you have the one with Salvador Dali did the cover.
I have it right here. We got to keep talking, but people need to see that cover.
Yeah, this is Mazzy. I just thought I'd pull it up when we mentioned the Brown Gabby.
Oh, that's a different record I'm thinking of.
But I think Ry was even getting involved in this era a little bit.
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, this was a Warner Brothers record, like in 76, 77.
Yeah.
You know what I love about that's so great.
I have that one.
That's great.
Killer.
I mean, if you don't know Jackie Gleason, I know he's watching. Salvador Dali, surrealist artist, painter, curly mustache, Spanish. I mean, amazing. He did his cover for Capitol Records for Jackie Gleason. It just seems like an unlikely combination, but so cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Mazzy, what I love about Ry Cooder most is that he's not this purist, so to speak. He really pulls from a lot of different musical disciplines and kind of puts his own twist on things.
Absolutely.
That Mamos Sinuendo album, it's a whole new creation. I don't want to say a new genre, but it's
Well,
definitely.
it's a mix. For those of you who haven't seen, I've showed it on a couple of my videos in the past. I did one on guitar players recently, on some of my 10 or whatever favorite guitar players, 20, whatever it was. And that album, Cuban guitarist, part of the whole Buena Vista thing, but it's very, Cuban and surfy, and I mean, reverb up the yin yang, but in a beautiful kind of sexy way, right?
And it's real. Well, part of the sexy thing is how well it's recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so lush and not a traditional surf album kind of sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that tremolo going too. He's tasty.
And the percussion, I mean, is
So
incredible.
okay, so you played the corporate gigs, you played weddings, bar mitzvahs, you do the circuit, the Exotica thing. So it's Exotica, Hawaiian. I mean, I guess how do you market yourself, or do they just?
It's a whole subculture. It's called tiki. It's
yeah, because there's that, but we play that and love that, but that audience, and then we also go beyond that. Like we're playing to people that don't even know that world exists, and we'll go off and.
Do you do tiki?
And that's our big goal, is to keep pushing.
Tiki versions of covers, like a famous, like I don't know if you know. Yeah, I'm sure you know the Kronos Quartet, for instance. Kronos Quartet. Even they do 20th century, and they do John Adams and Philip Glass and all these modernist thing. They did a version at one point of Jimi Hendrix of the famous Purple Haze, and of course it got them into a different realm, just because people hearing this modernist classical version of Purple Haze, all of a sudden it gets a different attention or something.
Well, it was interesting. Like we started with, like I was saying earlier, like I came out of I love all sorts of music and played all sorts of music, but played a lot of surf music and instrumentals, and we'd always then would mix that up with like funk and other things and vocals, because it's kind of boring for the audience if you're playing that all the time. But when we got into like learning this other genre of Exotica and Les Baxter and Martin Denny, and we had a vibes player then, and that's when I was learning steel guitar, Mazzy. And so we really kind of we tried writing our own material right off the bat, and it was horrible, because we didn't know the genre yet. Oh, cool. That's a great.
Talk about. He mentioned Eric mentioned Les Baxter.
Yeah.
And this album, this is my favorite of all these record covers, photography wise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Mazzy, we're getting into things like this. Taboo, Arthur Lyman. That's really cool. And
Arthur Lyman, yeah.
Arthur's playing the vibes, and then there's Taboo 2 with the and great songs on here, and they kind of go all over the place too. But we had to kind of understand how that musical genre worked and what makes it do that thing. That actually took longer than we thought. And then, to answer your question, we would do covers of those songs specifically, and then started writing our own material, because that's kind of really it's fun to play those things, but it's more fun to figure out your own song for us.
Way more. Yeah. We were riding on covers for a really long time, and they're great. Yeah. It's great material. I mean, Caravan and Mizzaloo.
What's a normal set like when you, obviously, I guess it depends if you're opening for a thing or you're doing a full on thing, but what's like a normal set? Keep talking. I got to get a little more.
Normal set here. In terms of what? The material?
No, when you're doing a show, a set, I mean, what does it make up? I'm not leaving you. My gaffer is not here. I have to turn my own lights on. Keep talking.
You go do that. Well, what encompasses a set, right? Well, it's nowadays it's our it's 12 to 15 songs, mostly of our originals. But this is a kind of a key. The secret sauce of APE is this record by Billy Mure.
Do you know Billy Mure, Mazzy?
I've heard his name, but I don't have any.
Okay.
So Mazzy, I will send you one. Because I bought like 4 or 5 of these on eBay just for friends. But this is the original one with the green 50-cent sticker on it. So Lane, who Lane and I played in, who's the bass player for APE, we had a surf band called the Swamis. And when that was kind of breaking up, he went to, he did a road trip to like Idaho, and he bought me a dozen 50-cent records out of a bin based on the covers alone. And he goes, and he never listened to them. And so I put this on and I'm like, that's incredible. That's like the perfect music for what we're doing. So on here is Duke Ellington's Caravan, Miserlou, Taboo.
That's a great song. Yeah.
Anyways, and those were the songs that really made APE gel. Like we learned those.
They were like the seeds of APE.
And he's really, it's like Les Paul. He's like a Les Paul. It's like a Coke and Pepsi. So if Les Paul's Coke, Billy Mure's Pepsi, and he didn't get it quite as famous, but you can see on the back, he's got all these guitar parts. So it's very layered.
So he's doing overdubbing like Les Paul.
Harmonies. Yeah.
He'll do like cool. 4 or 5 part harmonies on the melody.
Wow.
It's so insane.
Killer.
Wow. And we actually ended up doing a gig with him in Florida when he was very, very old.
Yeah, we didn't know he was even alive. We started learning this music from this record, and we still, those songs, Miserlou, Caravan, Taboo, are still in our repertoire today. Like if we didn't,
will always be. Yeah.
One of the highlights of my show life was, maybe it was only 25 years ago, seeing Les Paul perform in New York. When he was doing these shows in New York at, I forgot what club it's called.
Iridium.
Yeah.
Iridium.
Yeah. I got in with some people I knew, and it just, oh my God. I mean, it was still great. I'm just going to show these as we talk, but just some more Martin Denny.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
People like visuals here, so we're getting some visuals.
Yeah.
You know.
So anyways, so the funny thing about Billy Mure, so we started, that kind of like made our band gel, and we learned these songs, and then we didn't even know if he was alive or what. We didn't really think too much about it. And then I don't know, like 5 years later, we get this call. Do you want to play a gig this is at a tiki festival in Florida called the Hukilau with Billy Mure. I'm like, Billy Mure?
Festival? Where's this?
It was in Florida.
Of course.
And it was called the Hukilau. And it was
we're going
great.
to a Hukilau, that kind of
stuff. That was the name of the festival. And we're like, Billy Mure, like as in Billy Mure, supersonic guitars and hi-fi and all that. And they're like, oh yeah. And they go, he plays banjo now. So I love that album. That was one of my first Les Baxter albums I ever got.
African jazz, man. Oh my God.
That's great.
So politically incorrect these days, but whatever.
It's a great album. So anyway, we went out there. Well, we sent Billy our, here are the songs of yours that we're doing. And, the goal was, since it's multi-guitars, to have him play with us. And we go out there and we meet in a hotel room, and he comes over, he has his Les Paul, and he gets it out, and Mitch had to tune it up. It wasn't in tune. And then Mitch had had all the hard work of showing him his old parts, because Billy was like 91 then, or no, he was like maybe 95. He lived to be 100.
He was on the ball, but he just hadn't played some of these things in
You
forever.
should have had him like sign over his will to his guitars to you, Mitch.
Yeah.
He signed, I don't know if you could see it.
That's from Schitt's Creek.
He signed, we hauled this 50-cent record out to Florida, and then he signed it up for us.
That's worth now at least $1.25.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where I lost it already. I don't have like an assistant here in my thing. So
okay.
I know you're gonna go around in circles. So tell me about one thing about this band, everybody. They're supposedly, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I read it on Wikipedia or on their press release or somewhere. They're the only band with a live tiki carver on stage while they perform. So tell me about this, about Crazy Al, sorry.
So
Crazy Al.
So Crazy Al, we went to Art Center with Crazy Al. He was studying at the same time we were.
Is he a sculptor major or something?
Yeah, and
Illustrator, yeah,
look
yeah.
at him. Look at him right there. Look at that picture. He was exactly the same at Art Center how many years ago?
Here,
Like,
Mazzy. This is.
oh my God.
All right.
You can tell who's who. That
Those
was us at art school.
Those of you out in the world, Art Center is this pretty prestigious art school in Pasadena. Is it Pasadena now, or is it?
Yeah.
Pasadena.
I have a lot of friends. One of my photographers, Michelle Clement, went there, but she studied design. Went to Art Center in Pasadena, and I know people who teach there too as well. And great art school, art center.
Yeah. So we're there.
To be an artist, but
So and see, I had this band, the Swingin' Tikis, at that time, and you can see in the audience right there is Crazy Al dancing.
That looks like a picture you see of the Beatles at the Cavern Club.
Yeah.
In 1960.
Like that.
So do you guys? I assume you've heard of the Mermen, right?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
We played with them.
With those guys.
Are you fans of theirs, or were you fans?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are they still together? Even I don't even know.
I haven't heard about them in a while. I sure hope they are.
They're sort of a surf punk band, and for anybody who doesn't know, really cool band. I saw them.
Psychedelic.
Yeah, they have like a hybrid of stuff, You know,
the first time I heard of them, I was when I was living in LA. I was doing a lot of photography for Guitar World magazine, and so I was introduced to them. Oh yeah, man. So I met those guys, and they were phenomenal, and they're very loud. One of the loudest bands we ever. Exactly. We did some Burning Man event thing with them around Crissy Field or something.
I was going through. I actually have this one flip bin that I keep here by my fireplace, and I have this like cocktail party. So this is the music. All these records I keep in this one flip bin. Actually, just a little plug beyond you guys. Copel Design, a designer, a woman-owned company in San Francisco. And her company, oh God, I just blanked on the name. I'll put a link below. She makes these beautiful birch wood flip, for ABC, or you can do
neat.
Genre things. They're beautiful. They're not cheap, but they're a quality product. They're not made in China. And I really support her, but I got this cocktail one. Anyway, a long story about that. So I keep all these records in it. One record I found actually in Seattle. I just want to show this because it seems to be in the genre, but Charlie's Penthouse Party at the Domino Club. Now, being a San Franciscan, I thought I knew everything, but I don't. The Domino Club was on Tillman Alley off of Sutter Street. Look at that cocktail lounge. So the Oregon bar type of thing, that whole thing. Yeah. And this one is signed Best Wishes by Kemper, by Ronnie Kemper. So it's got this singer, Ronnie Kemper. Obviously, I doubt someone faked an autograph to sell in a used record bin for $4, right? But look, I just thought the coolest, I love old San Francisco shit. And, having that Kemper, I'm trying to think where Tillman Alley off of Sutter, that's like downtown near Union Square, I guess. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
Cool.
Keep
so
going.
Cool. Well, where were we? Hey, you know what, Mazzy? What I saw on your channel that seemed so cool was your asymmetrical, now plain wood piece that held the LP.
Right. Same company. I'm going to put a link below here. I just blanked out on the name of her company. She's out by Candlestick Park where they make them. And I mean, they're not cheap, but they're really well made. And you can buy either sets, you can buy genres, you can buy obviously single letters or multi-letters. My collection is too big to have all the letters. I just don't have it, but I do have.
It looked like it was debossed even.
They are.
Yeah.
What's great about them, they're debossed, and they're on either side. So you can, depending on which way you want to put it.
Oh, nice.
I have a new releases and a now playing, or in rotation one, and then the cocktail one. So, it's just I like to support local businesses, and she's been supportive of my stuff. And, I pay full retail. I don't get deals. So.
Well, we know what to get you for, a special occasion.
Yes. My
A
birthday
new,
was last week, so you missed that. So it's all
oh, well, we belated birthday gift.
right.
The 8 picks.
So okay, so let's talk about the album. Let's go back and forth to the album. I bought it. Obviously, I think I pre-ordered it like 16 years ago. I think I paid on my PayPal, and it finally came out about a month ago.
Yep.
No, a few months ago. And again, you did like 500 copies.
Mhm.
How long ago did you record this? And tell me about it. And tell me about the artwork, because obviously those of a certain age will know of Planet of the Apes and Open the Pod Bay Door, Hal, the 2001 pod, and the illustrator.
So, Paul Borchers,
Okay.
who's
I
Dutch.
think Mitch and Paul have the same agent.
Yes.
Okay.
Deb Arif.
Deb
Deb
Arif.
Ayers. I've known Deb for 3 decades. So
Yeah.
talk about this. Talk about the brief you gave the illustrator to come up with a.
Okay. So what we wanted to, so because of the Billy Mure album, we wanted to kind of just do a nod to his Supersonic and the influence on our band. So we titled it Ape Supersonic, and kind of worked in with our theme. And so what we wanted to do was have a really handsome ape astronaut on the moon. And the way the U.S. government would do it, they don't give him a name. He's just Ape, and Supersonic. And working with Paul, we wanted to, the thought was to also have him have this like bewildered look on like, what have I done? I'm here. Can I get back? There's the Earth. Leave it a little bit open-ended, and his pod, and then on the back. The original back was gonna be the back, which is our 45. I'll show this.
I didn't order the 45. I should.
Well, we'll have to send this to you for your birthday. But this was going to be the back because one of the songs is Squid, and then in doing all the songs for the album, we realized we had too many songs and we were too long. So, and then on the back, I'm like, God, we love this squid. Like I go, can you make like a squid in space? Because that's one of our songs. And he drew this and it was just awesome. And then I'm like, that's too good to be the back. So we then rethought back and had like a crate and the tiki, everything just floating in space, all, just randomly going around there. And then on the inside, I loved those Dylan covers where he's with Albert Grossman's wife and there's all that stuff around in the magazines and you don't know what's important and what's not. So that was the influence for that side that you're looking at right now, Mazzy. And then we had some of our gear, like the steel guitars and the deluxe reverbs that we play and the Mitch's Jaguar and all that stuff in there. And
you know what I love about the Ape on that side there is he's like this combination of a little bashful and really confident at the same time. I love that with his leg crossed and
and it's this like relationship with the woman that you don't know what's going on or is it going well or is it not well. And then Paul had the idea of like, he came over to my studio and we met and talked about it pre-COVID. And he was like, you guys there's this mid-century thing he just picked up on. We didn't tell him to make it mid-century per se, but like a lot of our influences are that. And then he just decided to put the earth in the fireplace, which, there's something to be said about that. So I don't know, there's kind of a lot of things in there that let you think about it. And it's not fully put together, but it's a little bit of a story that you could have in your mind. I always liked when playing records, Mazzy, where you would play the record and you'd start looking at the stuff, the cover, the back cover, and there's things to look at and read and
that's the thing, and that's why I do this, and that's why I love showing my collection again. And I'm probably got a good decade to 15 years on you guys, uh, age-wise, generation. And I grew up, I mean, I was 10 years old when the 10 and a half years old when the Beatles hit the Ed Sullivan Show. So one day I was into Little League playing baseball. The next day I wanted to get guitar. I started playing drums, or my parents got me an accordion. That's a long other story. But you know, and I collected records, and then throughout the 70s, or a lot of the 70s, even through college, I worked in the record stores and record business until that whole thing collapsed and I started taking out portfolios. But
Mm-hmm.
I love these records, and I love it. You'd sit and look at all the little covers, you'd read all the little things. You knew the art directors, you knew the illustrators, you knew
Yeah.
I learned all these photographers going back to, you know, to Jim Marshall and to Norman Seeff and to Henry Diltz. And I mean, even, you know, the 50, Francis Wolff and the stuff for Blue Note Records, and even the art directors. I mean, I didn't know what an art director really was when I was a kid, but, you know, looking at these old record covers, seeing the people working for Warner Brothers, like Warner Brothers especially, and obviously
Yeah.
Columbia and stuff. And that's why when I started taking out portfolios, I was going after record companies, even though I knew they didn't really pay a lot unless you had like a big artist to work for. You know?
But the editorial, the music magazine editorial, that pays more.
Right. Well, it depends. I've done some good stuff that paid a shitload of money, except now it's either, unless you're like the Anna Leibovitz's, the A-list celebrity photographers, or your friends of the bands, that middle period, like us, our artists, don't get that work and it doesn't pay unless you're lucky. So that's a whole other story there. But this is great.
Can I dovetail into something
Yeah,
for a second? You're talking about,
we're improvising. Take a solo, Mitch.
okay, when you're talking about sitting and looking at records and studying them while you're listening. When I was 8 years old, this album came out. Okay, I'm about to show you this thing. 8 years old, I was in a record store. I wanted to buy this thing, but my parents wouldn't let me. So I had to get, I got some Paul McCartney record instead. They said, you could get this one. So I said, okay. But I still wanted to get this other record.
Should I guess what it is before you show it? No. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh.
Now
Okay.
let me tell you something about this.
Where did you grow up again?
I grew up in LA, San Fernando Valley.
Okay.
And this thing, I would get scared when I would go by the bin and see this. I don't know if you could tell here, but this guy is scratching himself and there's blood.
That's Gene Simmons.
You could call him whatever you want to. I didn't know his name. He was a guy scratching himself and cutting himself. And for me, this was shocking and exciting, and talk about judging the book by its cover. I wanted to hear this thing, and it completely lived up to this cover. Then you've got the whole booklet inside.
Yes.
Right. And the film, it's this look. I don't know what film they were using here, but it wasn't your nice little digital camera. It had this look, and it had this smell. Remember when, you pull these records out and they had a certain.
It was the printing smell.
Yes.
The ink.
Yeah.
I remember Sergeant Pepper, the insert had a certain smell.
Oh, that was such a great one.
So let me tell you something about this. So obviously I was completely taken by this as a kid at 8 years old. And then obviously you grow up and you get into other things. And but I came back to this recently, and it's so incredibly powerful. And it made me think about APE a lot, because we've all got such individual styles that we bring to the band and different voices. And like Pete in the band, he's huge into Grateful Dead and some country music, and he brings this kind of, sound to it. And Eric's got his whole thing, and I've got my kind of pseudo jazz, whatever background. And so we've got these distinct voices. And when Eric and I write, we key into the strengths of each member of the band. We really do think about what everybody is going to introduce and how they could sing best, you know, in the
You
song.
two write most of the material?
Yeah. And Crazy Al writes some of the stuff too. And so these guys, say what you want, but in this time, in 1975, there was so much, like, how could you be bad in 1975? There was so much good music going on at the time, and they were not an exception to it. They were completely committed. Their musicality was just completely, you know, echoed by their personas, and it's marvelous.
It was
And
a shtick. They definitely, I saw them in 78 only because my buddy worked for Polygram, and I think that's on Casablanca Records, and it was distributed by Polygram. So we once saw them at I think it was the Cow Palace even.
yeah.
And it was just one of those things that I never got into them really.
No.
But I had such a great time seeing them live. It was like going to the circus.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
But for me as a kid, it wasn't even it wasn't even a shtick. It was like that is real.
I know so many people that are into them, you know.
Yeah.
I missed that boat, but I get it.
Well, it was kind of over after this record, but anyway, and it kind of shaped my my upbringing. I mean, the visuals, getting into photography, and then getting into music too. It was
the stuff that
pivotal.
Stuff that I would say the thing that shaped my upbringing, and I really wanted more than anything in the world, was something like more like this. It just didn't happen. So
yeah.
Or if we're talking about guitarists and talking about great covers, I assume since you talked about these great guitarists, you must love Chet Atkins.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Talk about that. There's two different covers.
What is it? Is a guitar hanging on the street sign?
What it is? It is. It's on the street sign of Hollywood.
They just stuck it on there.
At first, I thought it was from the inside of a guitar store looking out, and she's in the window. But you're right.
I don't think you were looking at the guitar.
I don't think I. And there's a guy like looking at the woman there.
So
that's great.
What's on that album?
It's got "Let It Be Me," theme from "Picnic," theme from "A Dream," "Jitterbug Waltz," "Santa Lucia."
I love Jitterbug Waltz.
It's got green sleeves. It's actually a really good guitar player. I mean, a really good album. There's two different versions of it. One is like a Hollywood sign, I think, and it's a less provocative record. But there's a great record of him, "Songs for My Brother," is it called, where his brother sings, and it's an incredible record. Incredible. Anyway.
That's great. I got something else here.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
No, you go ahead, Mitch.
So this would fall into the category of shitty cover, great album. So this is
that was a thread in the vinyl community, by the way.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
So this was my guitar teacher. This is like post art center. I studied with this guy named Ted Green in Los Angeles, and he was this genius guy.
He's incredible.
He's like this record is like, you know, Gershwin, Hammerstein, you know, Porgy and Bess, all this stuff, and it sounds like it's just solo guitar, but it sounds like 3 or 4 guitars going at once. The way he recorded it is it's direct. This telly is direct into the board, and then they split it into a Leslie speaker.
Wow. So it's got some phase shifting.
It's got the phase kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he's just got such a marvelous touch. And he's a harmony genius, chord voicings and permutations. And he was like kind of a real special guy, kind of definitely on the spectrum, didn't go out at all, just taught. He was just teaching all the time, and he taught a lot of. Go ahead.
No. sorry, we get cut off sometimes on the accent.
Yeah.
So were you influenced by a lot of like the jazz guitarists, like Kenny Burrell, Grant Green, Wes Montgomery,
Yes,
that stuff?
yes, but because, I mean, I'm showing you this record because I love the record, but he was
We
an
don't know who
important,
he is. Yeah.
he was an important person, just like personally in my life, because he showed me a lot of this stuff. Because music can be very, especially the stuff that we're into now, all this exotic stuff is very, it's very open. It's very, there's a lot of stuff going on harmonically. There's so many great possibilities. And he taught me a lot of this stuff, and took the, it could be scary. Like when you want to, you play guitar, you're at a certain level, and sometimes you want to get to a new plateau. Well, I wanted to get to this new plateau, and he kind of took away the fear of going, hey man, we're all in musical diapers.
Yeah.
We just, I'm just a baby too, man. And it's just part of the whole thing is just the journey. We're just, it takes a while to get there, but he would tell me, just take 5 minutes, just 5 minutes a day on something new and challenging. Don't try to cram in 3-4 hours. Just visit. He goes, visit it like it's a friend. Just say, hi friend. You're going to call your friend for 5 minutes, and you just touch it. You feel your fingers, then just let it go.
And so you had the guitar music thing, and then the photography thing, and
Yeah.
I
I did not take that photograph.
That's a terrible design cover, but I have albums that are terrible design.
That's $1.99.
So Eric, let's go with Eric, and let's hear some influences or where were you?
Well, I worked backwards, like so I'm one of my first records that I loved was Yellow Submarine as a kid, and Beatles. I'm not just saying that because I'm the Beatles man, but I'm like Beatles are number one for me.
Yeah.
And so I got into all that stuff. I got like when they did the red and the blue greatest hits album. So I got like a red album, which was pretty cool. And then like in junior high and high school, you got like the Cars and Cheap Trick, and in my era that stuff was going on. And I kind of like when all that new wave stuff was coming in, I started going the other direction. I'd get into the Animals and the Kinks, and then I'd figure out that the Animals were into John Lee Hooker, and then I'd go get a John Lee Hooker record, and then I'd figure out like Bill Haley was cool, and I'd get something like this 10-inch, this is pretty cool, like the original Shake, Rattle, and Roll. Yeah. So and it's got like the cool illustration. Like I always love like a little bit cartoony illustration. It was kind of that was just different.
That's probably about 1955-ish or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like original, like I consider them rock and roll. Like I guess some people consider
that was it. I mean, they were the big rock around the clock. And
yeah, I mean, 13 Women.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in 1954, and what I take pride in, it was the year the Stratocaster was invented, Fender Stratocaster, and the year they coined Alan Freed coined the term rock and roll for the music. So I always say I'm as old as rock and roll, and I know you can go back to R&B and stuff for that, and Elvis's first record.
Yeah, that's so cool. I came out in '66, but that's a pretty good year. Revolver,
8 year.
That sounds like
had a lot of garage music too. Then
Trogs.
yeah. Whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
While I was being born, the Beatles were recording Obla-Dee.
So you're born in '68.
Yeah. July 7th, and there's a tracking a tracking book.
You're a day after Ringo's birthday, I think.
No, it's the same day.
Same day.
Yeah. Same day. So they've got a tracking book, and they have all the notes of all the tracks they did and exactly what time, and there it was.
Mark Lewison book.
Yeah, is that what it is?
I know all that stuff.
That's awesome.
I'm addicted to shit,
Yeah.
So you guys were so you guys were kind of coming of age in the 70s.
Yeah.
Buying your own stuff, like picking Kiss out. What were you picking up, Eric? Like when you started buying your own records for yourself?
So I would go down to the Tower Records in San Diego, which was across from the sports arena where, like, if you watch that movie Almost Famous, or he goes to the do his first little Cameron Crowe does his first gig. That was
I saw Three Dog
like
Night
that.
in Bisa there at the San Diego.
I saw my first concert I saw was there, and it was the Kinks, which was awesome.
My second favorite band.
Like 1982ish, something like that, and it was just great.
Eric, is the place still the same? Have they changed the facade?
It's exactly the same.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nothing's changed.
That's great.
But I would go down to that Tower Records, and that was great. You could buy like 45s too, Massey. I'd go down through the 45s, and I'd get like, some old Stone stuff or an Animals 45. They just had everything. They had the great blues. I learned about John Lee Hooker and, all those Elmore James, Dust My Blues. I'd get into that stuff, and the Stones
Great
and
slide
early
guitar.
Stones.
Elmer James, great slide guitar player.
Yeah. And then I started getting into jazz. Like I just kind of all that jazz, country, rock, blues, all of it, Hawaiian. I just went into all those areas. It was really cool. Here, I'll show you this. I was telling you about this is 1982. This is
Picture disc?
the Evasion. This was a picture disc, and Rick Griffin did the airbrush on it, who, famous from San Francisco and
Fillmore
early Surfer magazine. And then on the back, they have from Mad magazine, if you appreciate, that's Basil Wolverton did that little illustration. Wow. So the drummer, this guy here, he was at my high school. He was a couple years older than me, or maybe he might have graduated, and his sister was maybe a year or two ahead of me. And like, she said, "Oh, my brother's band's got this surf record coming out," and that kind of like I got this, and then I worked backwards into like Dick Dale and the Ventures and all that, the Sentinels and all that Delphi stuff. Like, I don't know, I don't know if you got into this when you were a kid.
I didn't get into that whole surf thing. It's funny. I've said this before when I was talking to some people on my channel here is I'm a really shitty guitar player, but I've been playing for a long time. And I'm as good now as I was when I was like 16. I started when I was 12, 13. And for some reason, I never got better. So I feel a little guilty because I have some nice guitars that I don't deserve because I can play some chords. But I was bar mitzvahed in San Francisco in September of '67. So right at the end of the Summer of Love. And my parents, being a Jewish family, of course, had friends in the pawn business that had pawn shops down on 3rd Street and 6th Street way back in the 60s. And they got me, the guitar they gave me for my bar mitzvah was a blonde Fender Jazzmaster. And it was probably a 64 Jazzmaster. But think about this.
I got it right here.
That's only a 3-year-old guitar. Exactly. That's it. You have my guitar.
Yeah.
I had that guitar. But the problem was, and I had it for about 5 or 6 years, and I sold it to get a Strat because about this. In San Francisco, I was into the Airplane, the Dead, and the psychedelic. Those were not cool guitars. Those are fucking surfer guitars.
Yeah.
And until Elvis Costello and the New Wavers started bringing back in the late 70s, Strats, jazz, those guitars, they weren't hip until the New Wavers, Sonic Youth and all that. So,
And then Nirvana.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Did you listen to the Ventures or not really?
The one, talking about, I didn't have it here, but there was the Ventures Golden Hits that had the woman in the bikini.
Oh, yeah. I probably have that somewhere.
I bought that because that woman in the bikini, and they put out another one around 67 or 68, Psychedelic Ventures that had Strawberry Fields on it. It had like maybe it had Lucy in the Sky, not all Beatles stuff, but it was all psychedelic-y, and I got those two. But I never, it was because they were doing psychedelic. Growing in San Francisco, I would go to Golden Gate Park. I was young, but I would go see the Airplane and Big Brother and the Dead free in the park when I was 13, 14. And so I would see these. You didn't have to be 21 or, I went, the only time I went to the Fillmore West before they moved, when it was on, Market and Van Ness, I saw the Who perform Tommy in '69.
Oh my God, that must have been
It
incredible.
was fucking awesome. I was 14 years old. Or
Oh my God.
15, and I snuck out with my friends. And the Stan Kenton Big Band opened up.
What?
That's so cool though.
Wait, how is that?
No, but was it not Stan Kenton? One of those bands because
But a big band.
yeah, well, it was Bill Graham had all these weird things. He'd have like Hugh
You
Massey
could do that.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so cool.
opening up, that kind of thing. So maybe it was one of that style big band, white jazz artists, those kind of things.
Yeah.
So great stuff. But I always tell people I was at the perfect time, the perfect place. Being at San Francisco, obviously 70s, going to Winterland shows, Berkeley Community Theater, the boarding house, and then the the Mabuhay Gardens and the punk stuff in the late 70s. So why don't we last thing? Let's wind it up. Anything you want to say more about the record? I will put a link down. I want everyone here to start buying this record because there's only 500 copies, less now available. I don't know if you choose your color. I got 2 other copies. Is there any way to tell the color of the record without opening them? No.
Well, we know which ones when we send it out to you. So you could order whatever color you want on at apesupersonic.com.
I ordered those extra ones, but I don't.
Oh, no.
I gave them to a friend, so there's no way to tell. Okay, that's fine.
There's no way to tell. Yeah.
I'm giving them to friends. My friend, the archivist, I gave one, and I'm giving. These are like great Hanukkah gifts. So
Yes.
Yeah,
the color of the record, it's like the little toy in the Cheerios box. You don't know really what it's going to be yet.
So there's an orange one. Tell me the colors.
Green. So orange is orangutan. There's green flash.
Right.
There's silver. Here, I got silver on my. Check this out. Silver's pretty hot.
Oh wow.
Yep.
It's pretty cool, and it looks great on your turntable. Orange. They're all really cool. There's like kind of a deep blue.
Look, everybody, support artists. Artists can't play. These musicians can't play. For like $35 or so, buy a friggin' record directly from an artist. No cut goes to Universal Music or Sony
or Spotify.
Yeah, exactly. If this gets played 3 million times on Spotify, they'll get a $75 check. So just really, buy the record, support the art. This is a fun fucking record. I'm sorry, I can say fuck. It's my channel. This is a fun record.
Thanks, Mazzy.
It is. It's like it's exotica, surfy. It's just easy. It's a fun record. It makes you smile.
Well, it was a fun time recording it. Most of the tracking was last summer at this point, but it was.
Yeah, it was 90. It was 2019. We tracked it, and then so it's a double A side 45, Mazzy. So we got Snark, which Mitch wrote, which is killer, and then on the other side is
that the single with Calamari?
Yeah, Squid, Calamari, all good.
Put it in the fryer, and then you can.
You'll love this. So Paul, we had this. Crazy Al years ago. I'll try to hold this up close. He made this little ape keychain. He carved this. Like Disney hires Al to do stuff, and they're incredible.
Then tiki room there at Disneyland.
Yeah, exactly. And so Paul, I sent that to Paul, or a photo of it with my house keys on there. So I guess if you copy those keys, you could break in here. But then he did this like that's just an epic interpretation of this.
Wow.
Yeah, I like how it's creepier.
Like that green in there, and I don't know if you could tell on the computer, but it's cool. So, anyways, we had a lot of fun making it, and I'm so glad. We all are so glad that you love it, Mazzy.
I love it. I'm going to close out with 2 more records that aren't really in your wheelhouse, but if you ever have like a guest singer show up, I think you need to have a singer that has 6, 7 octaves. Ima Sumac.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We did some work with a really great singer for a couple gigs. Kitty Chow.
Here, isn't it? Keep
She
going.
was great.
Hey, Mazzy, do you know about this record?
I do not. Oh, Olatunji. Yes, I do. Okay. There's Drums of Passion and Drums. Which one is that?
Drums of Passion.
Okay. I have the other one. There's drums. There's two different ones. There's Drums of. It's on Columbia Records. Olatunji. Drums of Passion and Drums of. I forgot. I do have the other one. I don't have that one. I do know it. Yeah.
Well, anyways, on this one, like this one, it's funny. I like picked this up at like the Pasadena swap meet or something, and I'm like, that looks cool. I want to check it out, and it's great. And then I realized, like in the movie The Endless Summer.
Oh yeah, from the '60s.
Yeah. This thing with the John Van Hammersveld, really cool cover.
Great cover.
Well, when they go to Africa, it's from this album, and then there's the song right after that. It's like on side one, like Santana stole it or borrowed it or copied it, whatever, on his first album. It's like, the exact same thing.
Well, they took a lot of stuff from that, from Tito Puente,
Yeah.
all these different hybrids. But, I always look at it, there's this whole argument, which we could get on a whole discussion if we ever want to do someday, like about appropriation of music. But I always look at, for me, obviously being a Beatle fan, if it wasn't for George Harrison, the Beatles, I'm a big, big fan of Ravi Shankar and Indian music, Indian classical music.
Yeah.
Obviously, George Harrison using the, on Norwegian Wood, the sitar, and Within You, Without You. Then he produced a great soundtrack called Wonderwall that's very Indian-based and Eastern music. I got Ravi Shankar. I mean, you could go into the 80s or what is it, 80s with Time with Graceland with African musicians. It introduced us. It's like the Yardbirds introducing these, all those British blues bands, introducing us to these American blues artists that we didn't know anything about.
And thank God.
That's how I learned about it. Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly. No, yeah, and I totally agree with you. Like, and Santana always made everything better. Like, I love all that stuff.
Yeah. It introduced it. Yeah. So.
Hey, Mazzy, do you know about Zakir Hussain, percussionist, tabla player?
That sounds really familiar.
Yeah, he's a great tabla player, and then he did some collaborations with Bill Laswell.
Oh, I know Bill Laswell. I know.
Yes. Yeah, they got together and did this amazing live record at Stern Grove, but a fusing of all these different styles, and then this kind of hip hop drummer. And
I remember Bill Laswell, like,
oh geez,
80s with like Golden Palominos and the stuff he did with Johnny Lydon, African Bombata, and that whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I love this stuff. We could talk about music, and I'd love to do it another time. Anyway, say goodnight to Nipper.
Hi, Nipper.
Yeah, hi, Nipper.
Great, because I don't have to take Nipper out for a walk at all ever. But
Nipper looks a little thirsty.
Yeah, I got this at an antique mall in Pasadena about 25 years ago when Michelle and I were down there. Her parents used to live down there. Thank you, APE. There's a link below. This is going to be live, but I'm going to say this will be up on Monday, but I'm saying this now. The thing is, I don't know why I say it, because if you're watching it, it's already up. So, right? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But for you guys, I should have told you this ahead of time, because this weekend, this is recorded in August, end of August 2020, is Record Store Day. So there's going to be a bunch of videos of people, these limited edition record store editions. So I don't want to compete with all the Record Store Day videos. So that happened over the weekend, and this is September now. Love you guys. Thank you. Love the record. Buy the record. Tell Mazzy sent you. I guess you can't tell him Mazzy sent you, but whatever.
Sure you can.
Okay. You can, because some people, your friends, have put that in the comments when they bought the record, like Mazzy sent us.
Oh, did they really?
You can see that. Yeah.
Okay, put it in. Buy them for your friends and family. What's great, I just read a little fact that even in 2020, vinyl sales are up 11% because everyone's stuck at home. So vinyl sales, even in this pandemic, have increased this year.
Nice.
That's because of all these people buying the limited edition APE record.
Music therapy, man.
Exactly.
That's
So
the way to
Mazzy,
go.
Bye, everybody.
Mazzy, thank you.
Bye, Mazzy. Thank you.